Welcome. We're diving into lab safety, and let me tell you, this is stuff you absolutely have to know. Whether you're getting ready for your certification exam or you're already on the job, these protocols are what keep you, your colleagues, and most importantly, your patients safe. So let's jump right in. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to cover 5 really critical areas. First up, what to do with chemical spills. Then we'll get into those invisible dangers, electrical and radiation safety. After that, it's all about fire safety, how fires start, how to use an extinguisher, and we'll wrap it all up by talking about your exact role in an emergency. All right, Section 1, chemical spills. It just takes a split second to knock something over, and knowing exactly what to do next is what separates a minor cleanup from a major incident. Okay, so let's picture this. You're working, and bam! A bottle of disinfectant smashes right at your feet. What's the very first thing you do? Seriously, think about it. That first reaction is absolutely crucial, and you can bet this kind of scenario will pop up on your exam. So what's the right move? Well, the very first thing you do isn't grabbing a mop. It's all about safety. First, you shout out to alert everyone nearby. Then you block off the area so no one walks through it. Then you go get your PPE on and grab the spill kit. Those kits are designed to have everything you need to absorb or neutralize the chemical so you can clean it up and dispose of it in the right hazardous waste container. And that brings us to your best friend in a chemical situation, the SDS, or Safety Data Sheet. The cool thing is, you're not expected to have every single chemical memorized. No way. Think of the SDS as the instruction manual for that chemical. It tells you the hazards, what PPE to wear, how to clean it up, everything. Your only job is to know exactly where to find these sheets in your lab. Now, this is a big one, especially for your exam, so listen up. Sometimes the right move is to do nothing at all. You see, a regular disinfectant spill is one thing, but a chemotherapy drug spill, that's a whole different level. These drugs are incredibly toxic. If you see a chemo spill, your job is simple. Get everyone out of the area and call for the specialized hazmat team. You do not touch it. Okay, moving on to Section 2. Now we're talking about the hazards you can't always see, right? Electricity and radiation. These are the silent dangers that you have to be mindful of every single day. Electrical safety is mostly about simple, consistent habits. It's the stuff you do without even thinking about it. Always give your cords a quick look over for any frays or damage. That third prong on a plug, the round one, never, ever break it off or use an adapter that bypasses it. That's your grounding, and it's a lifesaver. And obviously, water and electricity don't mix, so keep those liquids far away from outlets. Simple stuff, but it makes all the difference. And here's a critical mistake that happens all the time. Just rolling your chair over a power cord on the floor. It seems like no big deal, right? But what you're doing is crushing the delicate wires inside. You can't see the damage, but it's there. And that hidden damage is a ticking time bomb for a short circuit, which could mean a serious shock or even a fire. Okay, for radiation, it's all about remembering 3 simple words: time, distance, and shielding. It's a super important concept. You want to spend the least amount of time possible near a radiation source. You want to put the most distance between you and the source. And you want to use shielding, like a lead apron, whenever you can. This is really key if you're working with patients who are receiving radiation treatments.
All right, on to Section 3, fire safety. This is the big one, right? The ultimate emergency. And the first step to being prepared for a fire is understanding what it actually takes for one to start.
So this is the basic science, and it's called the fire triangle. It's super simple. For a fire to exist, it needs 3 ingredients: fuel, heat, and oxygen. And here's the magic part. If you take away just one of those things, any one of them, the fire can't start, or if it's already burning, it'll go out. And here is a perfect real-world example of that triangle in action, and a major exam question. Think about it. That alcohol prep pad you use, that's your fuel. If you don't let it dry completely, you've still got flammable alcohol vapor hanging around. All it takes is one tiny spark from a piece of equipment to add the heat, oxygen's already in the air, and boom, you've got a fire. That's why you always let it air dry.
So, because different things can act as fuel, we have different classes of fire. You've got to know these for the exam. Class A is your normal stuff, like paper and wood. Class B is for flammable liquids, think alcohol or gasoline. Class C is for electrical fires, so anything that's plugged in. And Class K is specifically for kitchen fires, like cooking oils and grease.
Now, trying to remember all that in an emergency can be tough, so here's a little memory hack for you. For Class A fires, think A for ash, what's left over when wood burns. For Class B, think B for boil, like a flammable liquid. For Class C, think C for current, as an electrical current. And Class K is the easy one, K for kitchen. A little trick like that can really save you on the test.
Okay, so you've identified the class of fire. Now what? Well, assuming it's a small fire and it's safe to do so, it's time to talk about using a fire extinguisher.
Now, not all extinguishers are the same. Most of the time in a healthcare setting, you're going to see a big red one labeled ABC. That's because it's a multi-purpose extinguisher that works on those first 3 classes of fire. But what's really, really important to know is what not to use. For example, a water extinguisher, great for paper, but a total disaster on a liquid or electrical fire. Okay, if you remember one thing about using an extinguisher, make it this acronym, PASS. This is the universal technique. First, you pull the pin. Then you aim the nozzle at the base of the fire, not the flames, the base. Then you squeeze the handle to release the agent. And finally, you sweep from side to side until the fire is out. Pull, aim, squeeze, sweep. PASS. I'm going to say this again because it's that important. Using the wrong extinguisher can literally make things 100 times worse. If you throw water on a grease fire, it will explode into a giant fireball. If you spray water on an electrical fire, you're basically electrifying the water, creating a massive shock hazard. Knowing what not to do is every bit as important as knowing what to do. All right, last section. Let's pull all of this together now and talk about your overall role in an emergency. Because at the end of the day, all these procedures are about one thing: keeping people safe. Okay, we just learned PASS for the extinguisher, but there's another acronym that comes first, and it's even more important. It's RACE. This is your master plan for what to do when you discover a fire, and it's your first priority, way before you even think about grabbing an extinguisher. So let's walk through it. R is for rescue. Get anyone who is in immediate danger out of there, but only if you can do it without putting yourself in danger. A is for alarm. Pull the fire alarm, shout fire, get help on the way. C is for confine or contain the fire. You do this just by closing doors and windows. And finally, E is for extinguish or evacuate. Notice, fighting the fire is the very last option, and only if it's small and you have a clear path out. If not, you evacuate. So you see, safety isn't really about those big, dramatic moments. It's about all the little things you do every single day. It's glancing at that electrical cord, making sure a hallway isn't blocked, knowing where the nearest fire extinguisher is, and yes, waiting those extra few seconds for an alcohol prep to dry. That consistent awareness is what truly creates a safe environment. So, let's end on this thought. As a phlebotomist, you're right there on the front lines. You're often the first person to notice when something is wrong. Your knowledge, your actions, they're what protect your patients and your coworkers. Mastering all of this isn't just about checking a box on an exam. It's about earning the trust that people place in you as a healthcare professional. So the real question is, are you prepared?